Sure, Yev, how are you this morning?
I'm very, very well.
Excellent. Well, thank you for joining us. Where are you joining us from today?
I'm in Wanaka in my front room.
Excellent. And how long have you been living in Wanaka?
I've only lived in Wanaka for 8 years, but I've been 47 years in the district. We own a farm at Hawea Flat, and it's a family farm. And when my husband died, I decided I was a bit lonely, and so I built a house and I've come to live in Wanaka.
Oh,
So I've
great.
foot in both camps.
Nice. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And we'll crack straight into it. So I guess the very first question is, what made you decide to run?
I've been thinking about this for a lot of years, actually, Esther, and people have actually asked me if I would run, but it just never seemed right. And this year I have just come to the notion that I care. I care very much about this area. I care very much about our community. And the things that are happening with the rates increases and things like this, I find absolutely unsustainable. And I think I could make a difference, and I would like to put myself forward in order to try and make a difference.
Excellent. Thank you. And you've got a few people running for your ward this time, haven't you?
We are really blessed. I think that's absolutely fantastic. I mean, I just think it's lovely to see some of these younger people and new people who have had the bravery and the courage to get up and put their names forward. It's not something that you take lightly, because I realise it's going to be an awful lot of work. And if you want to do it properly, you really have to be committed to doing just that.
That's right. And given that it is quite a lot of work, what are you giving up in order to do this? Like, how will your life look a little bit different? What will you have to rejuggle or prioritise?
Well, I've always been a terribly busy person, Esther. I've been involved in building schools, building churches, building the community hub. I've been on boards for Africa. I've always been and kept myself busy. I love stimulation. I love a challenge. And that's just how I am. And so I'm really not giving up anything. I'm putting myself forward and I'm making sure that I'm just moving to another challenge.
Yeah, great stuff. Okay. So I've asked everybody this, and it's not so much to understand who people vote for. That isn't the point of the question. It's more about, have you got a world view or a kind of political view or a way of looking at the world? I'll give you an example because sometimes it's hard to answer. So, for example, I believe that through politics, we can make society more equitable. So it's kind of political theory that I would lean towards. Have you got any kind of world views or political theories that you align with or kind of bring to the table?
Well, I very, very much believe in social justice. It's something I'm very strong on. I am a Christian, and I believe that you've got to do the best you can for everybody within your community. And we have got a very, very diverse community now. We've got a very old community. We've got some very rich people in our community. We've got younger people who are really struggling. And we need to make sure that we have a balance and that we keep it fine-tuned as well as we can to make sure that everybody feels welcome and can achieve to their highest abilities within the town.
Yeah, and it's seen from the outside, isn't it, as a very wealthy place, but we know that that's not the case. It's we've got very, very regular socioeconomic groups, and we've got a real diverse kind of socioeconomic background to our people that live here as well.
Well, that's right, and it's something I see daily at the community hub. We are so blessed to have that building and to have all of the people that are working collaboratively in that space. It has done wonderful things for this town and is a terrific asset. So those are the sort of things that I'm keen on pursuing. I just think we've got to keep that balance.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay. And obviously you've been around a few different kind of boards and tables. I have as well, but I do think that local government is its own kind of beast. So thinking about the person behind the politics, or what the skill set that you bring around the table, and what I mean by that is it can be quite stressful at times, can be quite confrontational. You've got very conflicting situations where you might have opposing, not just opposing views and opinions, but actually legislation that doesn't necessarily kind of fit the outcomes that the community or local government is trying to achieve. So in those kind of stressful situations, what skills, what soft skills do you kind of bring to the table in order to navigate different personalities and challenging situations?
Well, I've chaired a lot of boards, and I know that diversity is always there, but I think diversity actually is a very, very solid thing to have on a board, because it leads to robust discussion. Even if you don't agree with what somebody is saying, sometimes you can tease out some information in there that we can all take some part in and move ourselves forward in the right direction as one. You're never going to all agree on everything, and that's just the nature of the beast. But I think if you are a listener, you will soon find out where things are going.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay. And I've asked everybody this in terms of, putting yourself forward for this kind of thing is putting your head above the parapet. What role do you think ego plays in local politics? And do you have an ego?
Well, yes, of course I've got an ego. Anybody who has put themselves forward as I have in this community, you have to have self-confidence to be able to do that. You cannot be, hiding your light under a bushel, so to speak. You've got to be out there and about and observing, and you've got to be strong enough to face the criticism that comes with that often.
Yeah, absolutely. And at times like when you feel out of depth in life or in different career paths that you've done, how do you navigate that, and how do you bring people along with you?
Well, in the first instance, if I'm in any way under stress, then I can take myself to a quiet place. I know how to do that. I try and do that. I've also got some wonderful network of wonderful friends who are good at listening with me, or sitting and having a quiet gin in front of the fire and just, saying, okay, let's calm down here and get ourselves back on track. I hope that answered that.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're going to be one of 12 people around the table. So how do you see it working in terms of what characteristics you're looking for in a mayor? And also, obviously, you don't know who's going to be around the table. You don't know who's going to be the mayor. You don't know who you're going to be working with. So what kind of qualities are you looking for, both in a mayor and in fellow councillors?
I think I'm looking for some honour, really. I hope that they will work with in a trusting situation, that they are not coming in just to disrupt, but are coming in to try and work for the good of the whole of the community. I also see it's not just the mayor. We're now going to have a new CEO appointed, and that I think is going to be absolutely pivotal to what happens with Queenstown Lakes District Council. I see that person as having to have the KPIs that we require to keep our budgets under control, to keep our staffing under control, and those are areas that I'm very keen to be following.
Yeah, so there's definitely going to be a change in leadership with the CEO, and that will, bring about, I guess, change just for the sake of change, because it's going to be a different leader. Have you got any views on governance of the CEO? Maybe what you feel might have gone wrong in the past, or any views on how that could change going forward?
I haven't really had much to do with looking at that side of it, but I have had a really good look at the way the rates are done, the formulas and all of those sorts of things. We're sitting at about $190 million in rates take, 50% of which is going into infrastructure. There's about over 20% is going into regulatory and governance. I'd like to be assured that that is not being wasted, and that there may be economies of scale in there. I'm also the $44 million that is actually being spent on recreation events and those sort of things. I need to be very clear in my own mind that there is no sections of waste within that, because we have got to somehow, or rather, get ourselves back on track. Now, the CEO is the person that's going to drive that. And so that has got to be a message that comes through from us as councillors. I believe if we are going to be able to in any way keep our rates and things under control. Another side of that, I think, Esther, is the fact that the town and the area are growing at double what is happening in the rest of the country. So 1.7 everywhere else, 3.8 here, and that is going to continue. So anything that we do with our infrastructure and those sorts of in-build things that we are doing in the town has got to be future-proofed. To see us putting pipes in that have gone out to Aquapure or Pure, but Project Pure in Wanaka, and finding now that the pipes are not big enough, I mean, it's just unacceptable. I'm sorry, if you're going to do it and you need a bigger pipe for that, you have got to start planning for that. You can't just keep on digging it all up again. It's ridiculous. So they're the things that I'm really hot on. If we're going to do it, we do it once and we do it properly. So we future-proof it for this big population that we are inevitably going to have, whether we like it or not.
Yes, and there's an awful lot in that conversation that we've just had. So maybe if we can tease some of it out. So we've got most of our budget is spent, rightly, as you pointed out, spent on infrastructure. We also need to build infrastructure that is future-proof, but you have to look at the numbers and the predictions that are set out and provided to us. So that, I think, has been part of the issue, that we've built to expected numbers and then the numbers have changed during that process. Also, just the general cost of everything has exploded, I guess. So what I really hear you saying is around wastage. You know, one thing that you can achieve straight away is to reduce any wastage in the systems. So I think constituents are particularly interested in that. There's lots of talk about things like wastage on consultants, on the time spent on projects, etc. Have you got any further views on what that looks like going forward at all?
Well, for me, I will have a red pen. And my red pen will go through anything that I think is unsustainable. And then someone's got to prove to me that I'm wrong. Because I think that's where we're going wrong a lot of the way. If we ran our businesses the way that happens, we'd be broke. And I believe, and my mantra will be, and you can put it up in big writing because I'm going to, is if we can't afford it, we're not going to have it.
Okay. That sounds very firm. You're very clear on that. Thank you. So I suppose in terms of, we've only got a few weeks left until the big day. You're going to be going to councillor debates. You're going to be speaking to constituents. What's the kind of parting message that you want people to understand from you? What are the key things that you want people to understand?
Well, my mantra for this election is going to be I care.
Okay.
I care about our rates. I care about the social housing issues. I think the simplicity one that's come into Queenstown is absolutely fantastic. I think Julie Scott's done a great job with the other affordable housing issues that we've got. I recognise that we are going to have to do a lot more in that space to give our younger people a hand up, not a hand out, and also to make sure that we have accommodation for our workers. If we don't, that's going to be a major problem. As far as the rates concerned, that for me has gone right across the board. It affects all of the people who are renting. It affects homeowners, and particularly I'm noticing with some of the older people in town and my friends who are not, you know, the wealthiest of wealthy. By the time they get their rates bills now that have gone up, doubled, or in the last couple of years, 27%, and then they get the ORC bills in that as well, they're now chewing into their capital, and it's really quite frightening for them. So we've got to be very aware of what's happening there. Also, all of those rates have now filtered into our businesses, so that is quite a worry, I think. My other concern, and I want to see a good balance between 3 parks and the town centre. I think it's vitally important that the town centre isn't just going to be full of eateries and nothing else. It's still got to be a vibrant place with lovely boutique shops. So in that from that perspective, we have got to make sure that our long-term parking and all of those sorts of things are well planned so that we can attract tourists to actually stay in the centre of town, wander, enjoy it, smell the roses, and not just have them leave because there's no available parking for them. So there are a lot of things that are only little even, but that will make a difference. And they're the things that I'm particularly interested in.
Okay. And obviously there's at a national level, we've got a lot going on with the idea of capping rates. You will have seen that in the news.
Yes, I've been reading that. I've been reading about that.
So is that something that you agree with, or have you got any views on in terms of some of the different arguments that you're seeing around what's happening at a national level and a local level around rates capping?
Well, wouldn't it be nice if we were independent? But I guess what they're saying is they're looking at it and saying, well, if it's going to get completely and utterly out of hand, then we've got to step in. I mean, I've talked to Miles Anderson, who is our man in Parliament, and he's particularly concerned about the ORC because he's getting complaints constantly about them, and he's now starting to get complaints from this area too about the level of the rates. So it's filtering all through. I would like to see us keep our autonomy.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I think there's much there that people can tease out of this conversation in order if they want to ask you questions at a candidate debate, because this conversation is more about you rather than policies. And it allows people to see where you're coming from. So it might stimulate further conversation. But there's an awful lot in there that I would love to talk to you about as well. So we can potentially do that offline. Okay, well, thank you for your time today. Best wishes for your campaign. I hope everything goes well. And yeah, we'll see you out there at the candidate debates.
Thank you very much. It's been great to talk to you, Esther.
And you. Thank you.